but it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the...
Good evening and welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith. It's Monday night. Normally we'll be doing ladies' night, but unfortunately we had a shortage of ladies because Michelle's been to the dentist. So get well with your recovery from that. I know she's slabbering at the mouth tonight, so she was unable to come on. Lily's at work, and unfortunately, Alicia hasn't been too well either. So we just decided to do the 5-minute rant. Chris couldn't make it tonight for the 5-minute rant, but I'm joined by Holly and Pete, and hopefully you guys out there, anybody wants to come on and tell us how they feel about yesterday's game, about the season in general, now is your opportunity. And this will be the last one of the season until August. The 5-minute rant will be parked on the bench and we will be doing other stuff. So if you want to get on, this is your opportunity. Follow the link. It's in the description box below. I've stuck it into the chat as well. Click the link. Join us on the screen and, come and have a chat. And if you've been on before, that doesn't mean you can't come on again. We've had some great callers, some quite prolific ones. David Reed's already in the chat. I can see if you want to come on, David, and give us your views on the season, by all means, jump on. But if you're somebody who's always thought about coming on and decided, I'll just leave it to other people, then use it. Tonight's the night. Click the link. Come on. You've got an hour. Join us. And talk about the season gone by. But let's look back at the game yesterday, Holly, and a nice win. You've had time to reflect on it. What was your thoughts about yesterday's game?
I was happy with the win, of course. Great to get another 3 points and ended up finishing 12th, which is absolutely fantastic considering the season that we've had. I did feel like we should have scored more goals in that game. I think we could have tried harder. We did sit back a little bit, a bit of a case of like putting your flip-flops on, holiday season already, kind of sat back. You could argue it's down to Bruce maybe making subs too late, and of course his subs weren't the best. He brought on the likes of Jeff Hendrick. I would have liked to see Matty Longstaff and some more youngsters get in the game as well, because there was nothing to play for in that game. We didn't really get much out of it. Yes, we ended up finishing 12th with the additional 3 points that we got, but I think we would have won that game regardless if we brought a few youngsters in. So I would have liked to have seen that. I think Bruce should have done that towards the end of the season, certainly once we were mathematically safe, because it's just not fair. I mean, they had the likes of Andy Carroll on the bench, who's probably never going to play for Newcastle again, and I'd much rather see one of the younger players get a chance. And Matty Longstaff is quite gutting, to be honest, because he really hasn't had the chance, and I really wish we got to see even like 20 minutes of him in that game.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. Pete, your take on the game yesterday? I mean, we covered it on Matchday Live. It's still up there for people if they want to sit back and listen to our dulcet tones covering the game. But yeah, your views.
You know what? I was just happy that we got the 3 points and to finish the season on a win. I think my sort of prediction was 1-0. I didn't think there was going to be a lot of goals. I didn't think it was going to be the best of games, and it proven to be the case. But as I'd mentioned on Matchday Live, we've had games like that this season where we haven't got the result. You look at the Sheffield United game; it was just as bad, and we ended up being on the losing end of that. So it was nice to get a win and be on the positive side of that sort of result. Look, does it tell us a lot about where we're going as a club? Not really. It's nice to finish on decent form, but there's a lot of stuff that's going to be going on in the summer that could change the outlook of how we approach next season. It could go one of two ways. But we got the result. Some good performances in there. I do agree with Holly that it would have been nice to get one or two younger players coming off the bench. It would have been nice for Matty Longstaff to play, but we know Bruce in the way in which he works. He works on results, and he plays his best players. And particularly if we're on a winning run, he doesn't very rarely change the side. So I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was a win, as you say. Got us into 12th, Holly. I mean, 12th place, you've already mentioned it. But I mean, that was beyond our wildest dreams 6 weeks ago.
It certainly was. I remember around Christmas time, everyone was like, oh, that's it, we're down. and everything. And then we started picking up and we're like, right, we'll stay up, but I think it'll be like 16th, 17th. I did predict a magic 13th place finish because that's like our position now. We finished twice in a row there, and then we end up getting 12th, which is just crazy, to be honest. Like, and even 45 points, I don't think it reflects the season whatsoever, but I'll happily take it. And obviously we got an extra 8 million from finishing 17th to 12th, so hopefully that gets reinvested into the squad and Mike Ashley doesn't just pocket that money, because we really need investment in the summer.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, finishing 12th, we should be aspiring really as a football club, Pete, to be finishing higher than that. But as Holly says, Christmas time, Brighton game. Let's look at the Brighton game. We all looked at that and thought we're down.
We did. And I was one of the more positive ones, with regards to this season. I always thought we'd have a chance. But after that game, I was with everybody else. I thought it was over. You couldn't really see where we were going to get our next win from. So the fact that we ended up then 17 points clear of Fulham by the end of the season it's just crazy to think that we're in this position. And you know what? Fair play. We've talked about Bruce and Jones and the players. Certain players not doing it for the manager or for the club. The manager, not making the right decisions. But it just goes to show, when you ultimately listen to the fans, and we've been calling for this, and fans that are within the media as well. I'm talking about, your Liam Kennedys, I'm talking about your Craig Hopes, people that could see what the fans could see. When you listen to the fans, you listen to what the fans are telling you, it makes a difference. And, Bruce has listened to the fans. You've talked about it so much, Steve, about the likes of Matt Ritchie and Sean Longstaff and getting them back in the team and how they would make a difference. Paul Dummett as well, you mentioned, getting them back in the team and regular playing. And they've made such a difference to the team. So it's nice to see that when a manager listens to the fans, it turns out in a positive.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about it. There's something changed in and around that period. Graham Jones came in. We've discussed it many, many times, but thank the Lord it did, and the fact that he brought back Ritchie and brought back Dummett, it certainly had a big effect, didn't it, Holly? Whatever the reason is, and I put it out there in a tweet last night, but it was a collective effort. The manager, Graham Jones, the rest of the coaching staff, and the players. They changed it, and ultimately that's why we finished 12th. And all the other teams losing around us yesterday to get us into 12th place, and of course get a few more quid in the bank, like you said. But yeah, it was just those changes, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was definitely a collective effort. I think the thing that made a change for me is when Mike Ashley announced that Bruce wasn't going to get the sack, he wasn't going anywhere and he'd stick by him regardless. I think that's what made the players realise, right, no matter what we're doing now, Bruce isn't going anywhere, so we need to just play and try to stay up this season. Because if the players took us down intentionally because they were trying to get the manager sacked and they knew that wasn't going to happen, it would have been a totally pointless thing, because it's not good for any of those players individually to go down, because that would look bad, obviously, like on their CV if they wanted to move to a different club and things like that. And of course, it's not good for the fans or the club or anyone. You don't want to be in the Championship as a Newcastle player or fan or anyone else involved. But I think that's the ultimate thing that changed things for us, to be honest.
John Askew says, I would take Andros Townsend back in a flash. Do you agree, Pete?
If you'd have asked me 2 or 3 years ago, I'd have said 100%. And he's on a free, which is always good, particularly with our owner who doesn't like to pay out a lot of money. But I don't know. He's regressed over the last year. And it says a lot that Palace haven't been much better than us. And he's been literally on their bench. He's barely been getting a kick all season. So I'm not too sure about that. And I have to say, as a winger, that's a place where we're actually quite stocked at the moment. We've got a lot of players there. You got the likes of Almiron can play there. Saint-Maximin, you got Fraser, you got Ritchie that can play there potentially. You got Jacob Murphy. We've got players in that position. For me, in the summer, that's not where I'm looking to strengthen. If I'm honest, I mean, if we get new owners, yeah, we can upgrade for sure. And I certainly wouldn't be looking at Andros Townsend then. But Is it really where we need to strengthen? I know we talked about this on Matchday Live. For me, there are other places that need to be improved before looking at wingers. So for me, I'd say no.
Life Goal says, Pete, isn't the strangest thing the adjacent points total these past 4 seasons? 42, 45, 44 and 45. He says, consistent mediocrity. He's right.
Yeah, 100%. And look, we go through the season looking whether we're even going to get to 40 or not. And that's always been the disappointing thing. We're on 45 points. I mean, I was thinking about this the other day. This is before the Fulham game. If we win, we're going to 45 points. But I'm looking at Sheffield United away. I'm looking at Palace at home. I'm looking at Leeds at home. I'm looking at Fulham at home. And I'm thinking, hold on. They're games that we could have quite easily got all 3 points from there. And then you look at that and you think, where could we have finished if we'd have got those results? And it gives a completely different outlook on where we could have been projected. We could have been talked about the way that Leeds were talked about, the way that Villa had been talked about, the way that potentially West Ham were talked about. If we'd have got it right, if the manager had got it right in our dark parts of the season between December and February, if we'd have got that right, we could have picked up results here and there that would have really projected us into the top half of the table. And it wasn't, if you look on the way we finished the season, we had a great finish to the season, but actually we could have had a good sort of period throughout the season where we were consistently picking up results. And that is a team that is top half of the table if you do that. So that was a disappointing thing looking back.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, well, he's got his list ready. I noticed he was in the chat before, and here he is, the man with the list, David Reid. Probably our most prolific 5-minute ranter. And how's things, David?
All good.
All good, all good. Okay, mate, over to you. The floor is yours.
First, I'd like a public apology from Holly.
About what?
She knows.
Because I said that we'd go down and David kept telling us that we would stay up. But I'm afraid, David, I'm not going to give an apology because I wasn't the only one that was saying that.
Yeah, I would agree. I was saying it as well. So what I'll do is, as I'm the person who hosts NUFC Matters, I will publicly apologise to David Reid for saying Newcastle were going to go down because he was correct. Well done, David.
Hello, David.
Will that suffice?
Over to you, Holly.
I'm speaking on behalf of the programme. We don't want to take up your 5 minutes with this. So give us some points about Newcastle, David.
All right, then. How much would you spend on Willock? Should Bruce stay as manager next season, regardless of what happens? And if not, who?
Okay.
Ooh.
Well, let's ask you that first of all. How much would you spend on Willock?
Should they?
No, I'm saying how much would you spend? How much would
me?
you? Yeah, you. How much would you spend? I said let's turn it around. How much would you spend on Willock?
Oh, sorry, it's 30 million.
30 million. Okay,
Yeah.
So that's 10 million more than we were originally quoted. And the other question essentially was Steve Bruce. No matter what happens, so if the takeover goes through, should Steve Bruce be given the opportunity to see his contract out? Is that what you're saying? Would you give Steve Bruce the opportunity to see the contract out? Say the takeover goes through in June, and Newcastle are going to have multi-billionaire owners, and Steve Bruce is going to get the opportunity to spend that money. Would you?
Sorry.
Yeah, would you give him that opportunity?
No, I think he should have walked away today.
Yeah, I've seen your tweets and I've seen your comments on the chat. Okay, well, I'll give my opinion on that. Willock, I don't think he's a finished article by a long shot, but I've had the privilege and the opportunity to see him, as Holly did, live and watch him, because the TV sometimes can be a little bit, deceiving is probably the word. It doesn't focus on Willock, but I watched Willock a lot. I was very impressed. Can he keep that up? Depends who he's playing with as well next season. But yeah, look, I was very impressed. I would say in the current market, I wouldn't pay any more than 30 million. I'll be disappointed if we've got to pay more than 25. I've got to say, he's young, he's up and coming. He's put the goals, in for us, and I just think any more than 30 million is ridiculous. But the way the market is, paying 40 million for Joe Linton is, I suppose, is the benchmark people will go by. So yeah, 30 million at the very maximum. Do I think we'll get him? No. Should Steve Bruce be given the opportunity to continue next season? If the takeover doesn't go through, I would say we're not going to have any choice. That's going to be the manager next season. Ashley will stand by him because he doesn't want to get rid of him, and he doesn't want to pay Steve Bruce any more money than he has to. So he won't sack him. And if the takeover goes through, then he needs to be replaced straight away because it's a new era, it's a new club, and I think history shows anyway when new owners come in, old managers don't tend to stay, and I think it'll be a clean sweep of everybody out kind of thing, and a new generation coming in. Maybe somebody from we're not so distant past in Rafa if it's PIF etc. who come in, but that's my view. Holly, what's your take?
Willock, I'd pay a maximum of 25 million. I don't think you'd be looking for any more than that for Willock at the moment. Like the same as you said, he was one of the standout players at Sheffield United in a very mediocre, pretty poor team, I must say, because we didn't play well on the night at all. But Willock definitely stood out. And of course, he's been fantastic this season, but 25 million would have to be a maximum for me, because I think after 25 million, you're probably looking at someone who's a bit more, like they've got their name out there a bit more and they're not just a youngster. And of course, Joe Willock's got a long way to go, but at the minute, I just don't think he's worth more than 25 million. And Steve Bruce, would I keep him regardless of what happens? No, I wouldn't. But if we're in the exact same position that we are now come August, yes, I would keep him, because I don't think we're going to get anyone better while the club's in limbo and while we're going to have very limited transfer fees. Under Mike Ashley, I don't think anyone that's half decent will take the job. So yeah, I'd just stick with Steve Bruce. At least he's got a bit of a relationship now with certain players and he's used to the squad and stuff. So that would probably have to be our best option. If there was a takeover to go through, though, I think he'd be the first person to get rid of, and you'd obviously want to bring in someone like a Rafa Benitez or another high profile manager.
Pete?
For me, I'd be structuring a deal very, very similar to Miguel Almiron, in that you're paying around the 15-16 million mark up front, with bonuses and based on whether we win a trophy, whatever reason, whether it gets called up to England, and it would be a deal around the sort of 20-22 million pound mark. For me, he's had a fantastic end to the season, but he's not valued at 30 million just because of that. I just think that's crazy. So I would be looking at sort of an upfront payment of around 15 million, rising to 20. I think that would be enough to secure the deal, if I'm honest. That's just my opinion. Is he worth it? Yes. With his age, the fact that he's English, for me, he should be the priority signing. Before anyone else, we need to be getting him in. One, because we need a centre midfielder. We've talked about it time and time again. We need a regular centre midfielder to challenge the likes of Hayden and the likes of Shelby in order to get that midfield up and running again. I still think we need an additional midfielder on top of that, if I'm honest with you, because I don't see Shelby as a long-term option. In terms of a manager, regardless of the situation, I do not want Steve Bruce as the manager of this club. I just don't. I think he's made far too many mistakes, and just like Mike Ashley, he will make mistakes again. It's as simple as that. He's learnt his lesson this season because he had to, but starting afresh on the new season, I'm absolutely convinced that Steve Bruce will make the same mistake over and over and over again. And the way he responded after the game, and the way he pointed the finger at the media was an absolute disgrace. And that just tells me that he's not learned one lesson whatsoever throughout this second half of the season. He's still making the same mistakes again, time after time. And for that, he does not deserve to be manager of this club. And for his own sake, for his health and for his sanity, when 52,000 fans come back in that stadium next season, he should walk away now where he will still get some positive, positive praise for the job that he's done, right? Because I tell you what, if he carries on next season, we will hound him out. We will absolutely hound him out. I've got no doubts whatsoever that he will not make that season because we won't allow it. So for me, a new manager needs to be given the reins. Now, if we get a takeover, there's no doubt in my mind that there's only one manager for the job, and that's Rafa Benitez. He has to come in. We need to do whatever we can to ensure that he doesn't sign for another club, because he's the only one that can take us forward, in my opinion. If there isn't a takeover for me, I've talked about it a lot. Eddie Howe is for me the guy that could take us forward and continue the attacking emphasis in the way that we play. He plays attacking football. He's a tactician. He's determined. He's a young manager, and I think that's exactly what we need right now.
Yeah, I would agree. Go on then, David. What's your thoughts on what Holly and Pete about to say? I'm just laughing because I've got a view out of my window and I can see me cat, black and white cat, of course, chasing a mouse around the garden. So it's quite. In fact, it's putting more effort than some of our players did this season. But go on, David.
Is that a metaphor for something?
No, it's definitely happening. It's live. I'm not going to go live with it because it's. I'll probably get accused of animal cruelty, but it's not. It's nature, unfortunately. Go on, David.
Well, so on me apology from Holly, but you'll
have a long wait, mate. You'll have a long wait.
Shelter it. I don't think Arsenal will accept 15 million for Willock. I think it has to be a much higher bid than that, even with the add-ons. And I totally agree with Pete that Bruce should walk away now, while he still has some self-respect. You can say that he kept it up in 12th place, woohoo, which we didn't deserve. And I would just take anybody next season, as long as it's not him.
Yeah, who would you take then? You've heard what Pete's had to say. Eddie Howe, if the takeover doesn't go through, would you like to see Eddie Howe come to Newcastle? I mean, Graham Jones is there, he's pal, or Martinez, of course, who we work with at Belgium, is another name which people seem to link with the Newcastle job. If Bruce did go,
I wouldn't take Eddie Howe because he gets the nosebleed as soon as he comes up past Burnley. And yeah, I would take Jones for his connections. I could get Martinez in.
Yeah, I think. I'm not too concerned if we can keep a hold of the players that we have, and we start the pre-season with Graham Jones in charge of training, and Bruce just doing his manager thing, and Graham Jones there. If we have to start the season with them, David, I'm not too concerned as long as we don't lose anybody. If we can bring Willock back in on a season-long loan, I'm not sure that's feasible. But if we could bring him in on a season-long loan, and looks like we're going to have to be frugal in the transfer market because the figure that's been mentioned is £12 million plus whatever we make from transfers, then, I still think we could hold our own, if you like. I still think there'll be 3 teams worse than Newcastle next season. It's a big if, and it depends on injuries. But we need to be able to pull somebody out of somewhere. And I suggested Josh Madja, bringing in Madja as a centre forward alongside potentially Wilson. What's your thoughts on that?
No. And thanks for saying I'm pissed again.
You are.
I'm not.
I saw you drinking out of a can, mate.
When?
Before. Where is it? Pick it up. Yep, I knew it. Right, I want an apology, David.
A public apology.
I want a public apology for saying that you weren't.
Brilliant.
Are you writing it? David, joking aside, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Your notes have been something of legend. And have you enjoyed NUFC Matters over the last 12 months?
Oh, you know I have, Steve. I love this. I love this channel.
Which is good, and you've been good. What message do you want to give everybody watching before you leave? And don't say an apology from Holly.
I want an apology from Holly, and I want to wish everybody a great summer. I hope we win the Euros. I hope there's major changes made in the summer, and I look forward to seeing everybody again next season. And thank you, Steve, for having us on so many times. And I just love this channel.
David, you have been great. Thanks for all your crack in the chat. I think you've been a blessing for us. Not part of the team, as in a sense, coming on and doing the shows on a regular basis. But in the chat, you've been great, mate. And thanks for everything you've done, mate. Have a good summer, and we'll no doubt see you on the chat over the coming weeks anyway. But take care, mate. See you later.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
David. Quality.
Great. Honestly, he has been very, very, very good coming on, and you know, it's not easy coming on to these channels and doing stuff. People think it's easy. It's not easy coming on and doing that. So we do appreciate David coming on. And Darren Cowan has said, David Reid, fan of the season, just for the confidence he had all season, which is right. He was confident. And Grant says, big Davey Reid, go on, lad. So there's plenty of support in the chat for Dave. But yeah, it's been good. It's been good crack. And at least he admitted that he'd had a couple of cans. But I could see him before he came on, and he'd had them. The whole thing about the transfer budget worries me, Holly. I'm sure it worries you as well. £12 million is what is being talked about if the takeover doesn't go through. Surely that can't be right.
You'd like to think not, but under Mike Ashley, would it surprise us? No, not at all. We've had many a season where we spent virtually nothing, so if it happened again, really wouldn't shock us. I think it would be silly if he literally only let us spend 12 million because we were so close to going down. Yes, we've finished 12th now, but that's just a recent thing because we were literally just verging on being in the bottom three. And I think the same will happen again next season if we've got the exact same squad. And if it is a case of that we've got to sell players to raise some fees to sign extra people to come in, I think I'd have to be honest. I know no one wants to, but you're going to have to make a bit of money because I think we certainly need probably a right back, probably a left back, probably a centre back and a striker, at least as the bare minimum. So unfortunately, I think we're going to have to let a few people go to make a couple of quid, just get some people in, just to make sure that we stay up, or we're going to have to look in the loan market even just for season-long loans, but that's a risk because last season, I don't even know when it was. I'm so lost off with COVID. But we've got Bentaleb, Lazaro and Rose, and they were all three shocking signings. So we need to be very wise with who we're signing on loans if we go down that route.
ASM, I mean, if you had to sell him to have a budget, would you sell him?
Nah, I couldn't. I really couldn't. But would Saint-Maximin want to go by January if we're in the same position? Yeah, I think he would, to be honest.
Yeah, maybe he's going to hang fire and wait and see whether the takeover goes through. It's a big decision for everybody. Pete, transfer budget, 12 million. It's not going to buy you Joe Willock. No,
it's not. And for me, I think that's a load of rubbish. I don't think we've got 12 million as a transfer budget. I think when push comes to shove, if there's the right player there, and this is what Mike Ashley's always said, if the right player's there at the right price and it fits his model, he will go and he will sign the check that gets the player into the club. And I think right now everybody's talking about Joe Willock. Now, the one thing that I was pleased about, the fact that Mike Ashley was there, is that Mike Ashley got to see Joe Willock up front and personal yesterday. And he got to see what Joe Willock's all about. So he would have seen that fantastic run and finish that effectively won us the game. He would have seen the guy that was running around covering every blade of grass and playing for the shirt. He would have seen that. And if there was ever an opportunity to think, right, is the investment of near £20 million enough? Is it worth it? All he had to do was watch that 90 minutes, and he would have known that it was worth it, because he sat through a lot of Joe Linton over the last 18 months, and he would have seen that that money hasn't been invested well. So he would know that would be money well invested. So I think he would go out of his way to get that money in. But look, we have to remember, we don't have to sell anybody. We're not financially under massive constraints like other teams, that are struggling as a club to fully function. We're not in massive amounts of debt. Yes, we're in debt, so to speak, to Mike Ashley, with that zero interest. But actually, in terms of the club debt, we aren't actually in debt, so we don't need to sell anybody. That's the thing that I think we forget sometimes, that we don't actually need to sell anybody. And the one thing that goes in our favour, and it did last season, is that there are actually a few, they're not high-profile players, but there are actually a few free transfers out there that could do a job for us. I'm not talking like, be amazing Joe Willock-esque signings, but could certainly improve our squad. I mean, I'll just talk about one. For me, we want an experienced centre-back coming in. We've got Gary Cahill coming on a free from Crystal Palace. He's on a free transfer. That is it your ideal signing? No, but you want an experienced quality centre-back. Yes, he's 35, but he could do for a season or two. You could bring someone else like that in. We're looking at Dwight Gale and we're thinking he's a load of rubbish. He's finished. For me, you got Christian Benteke going on a free at Crystal Palace, who's had a decent season. He seems to found a little bit of form again. You got Michy Batshuayi, who's on a decent will be able to go on a decent fee because Chelsea don't want him. There are players out there. I mean, I think Sean's put on the chat Gini Wijnaldum on a free transfer. The guy's going to Barcelona. He's going nowhere but Barcelona. That's a done deal. So he's out. But I mean, they're just two examples of players that we could bring in that maybe wouldn't push the first team straight away, or could do, but they are certainly better options off the bench than we've got currently. So if we're smart about it, there are players out there on not very expensive deals that we could get in that could do a job for us for a year or two. Darren's put in Ruben Loftus-Cheek. He's been terrible at Fulham. Terrible. And talking about nosebleeds, David Reed talk about Eddie Howe having nosebleeds. Ruben Loftus-Cheek gets a nosebleed if he gets any further than the East Midlands. You don't want to go anywhere apart from London. That's why he's had such a bad career, because he's been so restricted in who he's going to go and play for. He had the opportunity to go and play for Rafa Benitez and decided to go and play for Crystal Palace, who were by far worse. And then he's gone to relegated Fulham instead of going to a better team and going outside of London. You just get players like that at London, and it's disappointing. Tammy Abrahams was the same. He didn't want to go any further than Swansea. He gets a nosebleed there, and you don't want players like that. I don't want Ruben Loftus-Cheek. He's not showing his ability. The guy's 26 years old. He's not done anything in the game. But there are players out there that can and have got proven track records that are going for nothing in the summer. So I'm not overly worried about the transfer budget, but I think if we have got a transfer budget and it's limited, get it all on Joe Willock. Get it all and get him on a permanent transfer so he's permanently at the club. Because if we sign someone like Joe Willock, that's going to make Callum Wilson happy. That's going to make Alan Saint-Maximin happy. That's going to make Miggy Almiron happy. Why? Because we're signing players with potential. And if we're signing players with potential, those players that are currently there with potential are going to want to stay and play for us.
Yeah, 100%. Yes, sign them and keep everything we've got. I would agree. At least for this season, I still think we've got more than enough. Keep the same squad. It's controversial to say keep Steve Bruce, but we know he's not going to get sacked. We know he's not going to get sacked unless he loses every single game, and then Ashley might have a decision to make. But we'll wait and see. Big shout out to the sponsor, Spider VPN. For all your internet security, simply Google Spider VPN and go to the website. They can help protect your passwords, protect everything on your laptop, computer, phone, whatever. Get yourself onto Spider VPN and find out the details there. Skipsandbins.com as well are with us this month. Telephone 0800 25 45 253. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website www.skipsandbins.com. Easy, contract free, and pay as you go waste collection. And there is Sir Bobby. I've had him in the corner as well. You might notice that the sponsors logos are now in the corner, sporadically changing over. And also a big shout out to John at qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend in Newcastle, and also the guy who runs our website and knocks up the t-shirts, such as the Cult t-shirt, which is the best-selling t-shirt on the website, NUFC Matters t-shirts from nufcmatters.com. And last but by no means least, he was in the chat earlier on, John at Jab Signature, who knocks up all of our flyers. If you want to subscribe to the channel, hit the Newcastle Legends logo in the bottom right-hand corner, and that's it. You can subscribe for free. Hit the thumb up to like the video, which helps us a lot, and hit the share button, which shares to your other social media. Try and hit the Newcastle groups that you're a member of, maybe on Facebook, and hit the comment section if you want a point on screen. And you've only got 25 minutes if you want to come on. Don't be shy. If you want to come on and talk about Newcastle, come on and join us. We've had some great callers over the course of the last few months since we started off this regular show. If you've got something to get off your chest, come on. But this will be the last one of the season. Of course, it will be back in August. And the food bank bucket is still in operation throughout the summer. And this is a time when the food bank does struggle a bit because obviously there's no football. And NUFC fans, foodbank.co.uk, the match day bucket is still operational. So if you've got a spare bit of change that you want to chuck in across the internet, then please do. And of course, everybody who chucks in between now and August the 5th gets a chance to enter into the prize draw for that watch, which will be drawn on the 5th of August. So please chip in on that. And lots of people asking about the shows. Yes, 100%. They are going to continue throughout the summer. I will do my very best to do 7 shows a day and make sure that you get all your regular content. As I said the other day, we're still going to have Liam Kennedy on a Tuesday. That will be mainly about transfers. Of course, the Takeover will no doubt rumble on and take up lots of minutes on those shows, but he'll also be helping out squash the rumours and maybe give a little bit of credence to some of the stories about incomings and outgoings over the next couple of months. Supermac and Gibbo will be on. We'll be looking at games gone by, looking at the Euros in particular with those guys. And on Friday night, the Three Amigos is going to be rechristened. So watch this space. The Three Amigos is no more. What are we going to be called? And who is joining us on a full-time basis? Wait and see. And lots of people asking about this event as well, which we publicised earlier in the season. And again, I will get the correct flyer up, but that just gives you a feel for what's going on. It's actually, it is the right date now. 4th of September, Saturday the 4th of September, 2021. And Newcastle led an evening with Newcastle legends. And, the likes of Tommy Wright, Liam O'Brien, Kevin Scott, Rob Lee, Lee Clark, Darren Peacock, Steve Howie, John Beresford, Keith Gillespie and Supermac will be joined by myself, John Gibson, on stage. And a few of the NUFC Matters crew are going to be there as well. So get yourself onto Groupon or Wowcher to buy your tickets for that. Get a decent bargain on there and come along and see us on that date. Should be a cracking date. COVID restrictions allowing, of course. Let's take a few of the points in the chat. Dodo Bird, hope you're doing well, mate. He says, hello, Steve and the panel. Can you tell me if the player transfers affect the value of the club? And if not, why not? What do you think, Pete? Is that something which would affect it? I mean, I saw a story valuing the club at 190 million now. And a lot of people asking whether that's going to affect the takeover. But my understanding is, the deal's done at that price and there'll not be any negotiation on that. So I would imagine that player transfers won't really affect it either.
See, I disagree.
Okay.
I think that if we were to transfer the likes of Wilson and Almiron and Saint-Maximin before a takeover got through, I think that would affect. I think it would affect the value. I don't think it would affect the value in the current deal with the consortium, but I think it could affect the value because if you look at it and you're looking at the club and what the club can be, you want to be building a team around those sorts of players. You don't want to be having to then replace those players and putting in even more money into signing players that are going to replace them because they've already gone. Because let's face it, if they get sold, that money goes with Mike Ashley. So, you know, the consortium coming in have then got to put even more money in, which then affects their projected amount of investment per season. So I think it would have an impact, which is why I was so adamant yesterday on Matchday Live that Alan Saint-Maximin wouldn't leave this summer, because I don't think any of the top players will leave this summer. Even Almiron, I don't think any of them will, because it's such a critical time that it could change at any moment. And why would Mike Ashley and why would the consortium even want or agree to some of these top players leaving when the consortium could come in and actually build a team around Saint-Maximin? You know, everyone's talking about Saint-Maximin going to, you know, a top 6 team or one of the top teams in Europe. Well, if we have a takeover, we're looking to be one of those teams. So you would want to build a team around him to incorporate him into that potential top 6 team. So I think it does have a bearing in it. I don't think it's the be all and end all, but certainly the top end players, the ASMs and the Wilsons and you know, Almiron, for example, are key to that without a doubt.
Yeah, I'm getting tagged in all these things on Twitter at the minute. It's becoming a bit of a thing now. Stu Penman started this, I'm sure. Adam33 says, Mrs. just got in from work, complained I hadn't done the hoovering, the dishes, cut the grass or made the tea. I told her it was Steve Wraith's fault and she agreed. I'm getting tagged in anyone's things to blame, which is quite funny. I do find it funny. We've got a guest, by the way, and look who's back. Is this a mistake, David? Have you got lost on your way to the toilet or something?
No.
What have you come back? You come back on not to ask anybody for an apology, surely to God.
I mean, how rude.
Go on then, David. What have you forgotten something?
Yeah, first of all, Holly, I'm still waiting at first.
Oh God. This is called harassment. Anything else?
Yeah, I want to just ask everybody who their best favourite radio commentators are and their best commentators on the TV.
All right, okay. Well, mine was John Motson, of course, but that's probably because of my age. I do like Martin Tyler, got to be honest. On the radio, it's always been a toss-up for me between Charles Harrison and Mick Lowes. I'm gonna go with Mick. Mick Lowes was my favourite on the radio. Pete?
Very, very easy for me on in terms of TV. For me, Gary Neville talks a lot of sense. Very, very good at what he does. And not a lot of people, not a lot of fans appreciate him or like him at times, but I think he talks a lot of sense about a lot of different situations and a lot of different clubs. He's had his moments, but in the general, I do listen to what he said. The radio one's a little bit controversial. I don't listen to a lot of radio football talk. But if I was to say someone, and it is slightly controversial, it is Stan Collymore. Stan Collymore does have a lot of really good views about football. And although he doesn't always talk about Newcastle in a positive light, I think a lot of that is down to the fact that we give him a lot of stick with the Aston Villa links. But I think when he does talk about Newcastle, and he did recently when he talked about Steve Bruce and the way he's managed our club, I think he was absolutely spot on. And certainly around the ESL and a number of other issues in football, he's talked some really, really good points. So, like I say, I've not got a massive amount of choice with regards to radio football because I don't really listen to it, but he would be up there for me.
Holly?
You know what? I'm actually really struggling to think of anyone like on the spot. Like, I'm sure if you give us a bit of time, I'll be able to think, but I just can't. Like, football, it's weird because, to be honest, I'm not even going to lie, up until like COVID, I didn't really watch any other team's games very often unless it affected Newcastle. And I was always at the match, so I never actually listened to the commentary very rarely. And the only person I listen to on the radio has nothing to do with Newcastle or football, so I can't really answer that either. But honestly, on the spot, I don't know. I might tweet it later if I think of someone.
Yeah, okay.
You can tweet your apology as well.
David, what about you? Your favourite before we let you go?
Yeah, I love Charles Harrison. I'm from that era. I really did love him. Mick Lowes. Didn't he start commentating for Middlesbrough?
I can't remember. I mean, he used to be national, Mick, and then he came up north. I'll ask him the question because we're doing a live together on Saturday from Newcastle because he's up. So I'll ask him that question. I'll make sure. If I forget, David, send us a message on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm sure he started off at Middlesbrough. That's when I first heard him.
All right.
But of course,
it looks like you're on an episode of Countdown because you keep like putting the pen like up on the screen, like as if you're writing down letters, working it all out. Look, what I'm gonna do. I'll let you stay on for the last 15 minutes, David, as long as you promise not to ask Holly for an apology, and you can be part of it. Chrissy, question to the three of you, or four now because David's here. What's so good about Maximin? I really don't like his style of play. I think he's greedy and he's not that good at passing, shooting, and he has skill that's a bench player. Okay, Chrissy. Holly, ASM, he doesn't like his style of play. He thinks he's greedy and he's not very good at passing or shooting.
That's certainly opinion and a half. I'm wondering if he's a fan of Rafa style football because Rafa would probably say something similar. No criticism at Rafa because we all know I love Rafa, but we've said before I don't think Saint-Maximin would suit that style. I mean, I don't really know what to say to that. I'm not going to lie. Saint-Maximin, I think, is a brilliant player. You could argue, I do agree to a certain extent that he is a little bit greedy, but I think he has improved in that, certainly across the couple of years that he's had at Newcastle. There was moments against Sheffield United where I thought he should have passed the ball, but instead he was trying to get more of the attention for himself, which probably is the thing that I think he's got to work on the most. And another criticism I'd have of him is that sometimes he focuses too much on doing all the like tricks and skills rather than just making a simple pass, which would probably help the team a lot more getting up the pitch. But generally, he's probably the best player at the club besides Martin Dubravka because I think he is the best in my opinion. But he adds something different. He really gets us up the pitch. He's a flair player, someone that's entertaining to watch. I don't know why you wouldn't like to watch him. His style of play, I love it. I think everyone loves it at Newcastle. And we've always got these kind of like forward players that are just target men, the likes of your Andy Carroll and your Joe Linton to a certain extent that are just there to pretty much score an easy goal, put the ball straight in, and they never like have those kind of tricks and stuff that Saint-Maximin has, but also the pace of him is unreal and just all around. Like, I don't know what there is not to like about him. And always, yes, he doesn't win the ball most of the time, but when he has the ball, he's practically impossible to get it off. And also, like, he just scares any defence in any team. If you notice, whenever we're playing opposition, they're always trying to target Saint-Maximin to get the ball off him because they realise it's one of Newcastle's biggest threats. And I mean, the past few games we've seen, whenever they have the ball, they're looking for Saint-Maximin straight away because he's the only one that can break down a defence and really get us back into the game when we're struggling. So Saint-Maximin's a great player. He adds something fantastic to this side that we haven't had for years.
Chrissy also says he's more frustrating to watch. That's what you know. What do you think about that, Pete?
I love his style of play. He gets bummed off seats. He gets you excited. He's a tricky player. There's not many players in the Premier League that does what he does. And what he does is a valued. It's something that's massively valued in the world of football. You know, we talk about Adama Traore being fast and being able to dribble and running at pace, and people love him and shower him with compliments. For me, it's Alan Saint-Maximin better than that. We've for the last 6 years we've given plaudits to Wilfried Zaha for doing exactly that. For me, Alan Saint-Maximin's better. And who wouldn't want a player like that in their team? You know, our rival fans hate the fact that we've got Alan Saint-Maximin in our team. They hate the fact that he's at us. And you see in a lot of what you're seeing a lot of now, more than ever, is because obviously he is the self-proclaimed king of Twitter, without doubt. And with that, what you're getting now is whenever he tweets something, you're getting Man United fans, Arsenal fans, Tottenham fans, Man City fans, all responding saying, come and sign for us, play for our club. Because they want to see that excitement. They want to see a player with those type of tricks and skills playing week in, week out for their club. But he's at the perfect club because we are the type of fan base that we absolutely love him to bits. You asked the question about Rafa Benitez. Rafa Benitez is a good enough manager to know where to play Saint-Maximin. And ultimately, where Saint-Maximin's playing right now for Newcastle is where Rafa Benitez was playing. He wouldn't play him in a position where he would be sort of, hung out to dry defensively, because let's face it, he's not a defensive-minded player. But Rafa Benitez has had players that are not defensive-minded. He's had players that are very attacking, stylish players that like to get forward. And he's made it work. So there's no reason why he wouldn't get Saint-Maximin up and playing, at that sort of level that would take him to that top six. I'm not worried about that at all.
Okay, David, what's your thoughts on ASM? Do you agree with Chrissy? Do you think he's a bit of a luxury player and better as an impact player coming off the bench?
No, I think he's the best player I've got.
Okay, short but sweet.
Yep.
Good to see Brandon's back in the chat, by the way. Brandon, the Sunderland fan, who created a stir yesterday. Hope you're doing well, Brandon. I hope everything's all right with you, mate. I genuinely do. Gary Milligan says, David wants a pee, please, Bob. Making some kind of reference to Blockbusters. Probably. This is just popped up. It's Blockbusters. You must be old enough to remember Blockbusters, mate.
Yeah.
Can I have a pee, please, Bob? It's because of the pen. This has just come up on Instagram. And you'll not probably be able to read that. So I'll read it for you. And it's a message from Joe Willock simply saying, thank you for rocking with me. I will never forget the love you have showed me. The team, the fans, the city will always hold a special place in my heart. Up the Maggies. Goodbye. So there we go. That's it. That's the end. We've got another guest, and I recognise this face in the green room. Dom, how are you?
All right, yes.
Good to see you, mate.
I wasn't sure what it was.
Well, it's good. It's good to see you, mate. Obviously, people will know you from your own channel, and obviously, your good lady takes part in Ladies' Night these days. Give us a summary of the season, I suppose. And Dom, what a finish! 12th place. That was completely unexpected, I think, from a lot of people other than David Reed.
Yeah. What I can say is it was unexpected of the season from the start. We were all thinking dim and gloom. Second season with Bruce wasn't brilliant, but we finished 12th. It's money into the coffers. If we are still with Bruce, then I hope he puts that money into the club. But we'll see.
Yeah, we just showed that message. Essentially, it's a goodbye from Willock. Does that surprise you? Goodbye, he says. I think that makes it fairly conclusive.
Yeah, Arteta would be stupid to get rid of him, to honest with you, but we'd love to have him in black and white next season. I think we can all say that, everyone in the chat, that we'd love to have a player of his calibre in playing in the black and white and to do what he's been doing. I mean, look, he scored, 7 goals in 7 games. The guy's class. But we can only hope for a takeover to keep all these players, unfortunately.
Yeah. Holly, it looks fairly certain that he's going to go with that kind of message, doesn't it?
It does. I'm absolutely devastated. I'm not even going to lie. That's not what I wanted to read at all. It's really hard to take, to be honest. When we've had a connection like we've had with Willock, I think that's really hard to come by with the player because he just clicked with the squad instantly. And you saw relationships he was building with people, the likes of Saint-Maximin. And if we added him to the squad next season, then it would just put your mind at a lot more rest that we wouldn't have to worry about relegation like we have at the start of this season, because obviously you joined us halfway through and we only got to see in person, well, me and you, Steve, we only got to see in person and play one time, and that I didn't want that to happen. I wanted to see and play many games for Newcastle and go on to be one of our best players. Just really, really good. And I'm not surprised, because I think Arsenal would have been silly, like Pete said, to get rid of him, because of course he's a cracking young talent, but it's gutting. I think we probably should have made a move a bit earlier on before he started becoming the player he was. As soon as like his first game, I said like he looked good and everything, but very, very unfortunate. You're hoping that something can change and Bruce can like sort a deal out in the summer, but probably not. Honestly though, best of luck to Joe Willock, because he's been fantastic, and thank him for everything that he's done this season, because he's one of the main reasons why we've managed to turn it around and stay up. So thanks, Joe Willock, and best of luck for your future.
Yep, David, that's not the message we wanted to see tonight, really, was it?
No, I'm gutted. Absolutely gutted. But if that's what it is, then we'll have to move on and find somebody else.
Well, at least we know it's not dragging on for the next couple of months. And I suppose at least there's always that opportunity now, essentially, for, maybe a loan deal to be done. It could be one of those situations where they agree to put him out on loan. His agent now will have a conversation with Arsenal and say, well, look, is he going to be featuring this year? Is he going to be playing? And our player wants to play. And that could be the situation. Yeah, that's what happens with agents. Pete, not good news really at the moment, but as I said, at least it gives Newcastle a chance to plan without him now, rather than having months of hoping that he's going to sign and then being dashed at the last minute. No, you're on mute, Pete. You're on mute.
Sorry. You were saying, I don't know what you were worried about. He was always going to put this message out, because after the last game of the season, the loan deal ends. So he was always going to leave and go back to Arsenal at some point. Doesn't mean that the deal's not going to happen. Like we've said, there's a lot of moving parts to this summer. A lot of things can change very, very quickly. And did I expect Mike Ashley to go out and pay 25 million, 20 million, 15 million on Joe Willock right now? No, because he's trying to get this takeover done. But as the summer goes on, and as the Euros starts and as the arbitration kicks on, we will know very, very soon whether this takeover is going to be happening before or during the season or not. Okay? And at that point, that's when we'll start to act. And we'll start to get a feel for how the season's going to go when deals get done. Now, Newcastle as a team, I said this yesterday, we traditionally do our deals late on in the window. It's not ideal. It's the worst, in fact. We are just so bad at doing that. I think the earliest we've ever done a deal is signing Christian Atsu after we got promoted to the Premier League, which I think says everything we need to know. So I wasn't expecting him to be signing with a shirt in his hand. No. But like I say, there's still time. So he's saying goodbye because his loan's finished. I don't believe at this moment in time he's saying goodbye to Newcastle and that he's not coming back. I still hold some hope that we can get him back on loan, because personally, I don't think Arsenal want him. I really don't.
I thought I was Mr. Positively, but are you thinking we'll still get Willock for next season?
Yeah, I think there's still a chance. I'm not saying 100% guarantee he's going to come to the club. I'm not, but by seeing that message, I've read into that message a lot differently to what a lot of Newcastle fans have. And for me, we've seen loan players do this all the time. When they leave and their loan deal ends, they, once the season finishes, their loan deal ends. They naturally go back to their parent club, and naturally they say goodbye, thank you for everything, blah 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 blah. I think Kennedy did it for us, and then we got him back on loan again. It's not the end for me. That's not the end. And there's a lot of moving parts there.
Was it not better for him to just shut his mouth?
Sorry?
Was it not better for him just to shut his mouth?
No. Why would you? Why would you? He's loved his time at Newcastle. He's talked about loving the city. He's talked about loving playing even for Steve Bruce. He put on Instagram yesterday how he appreciated Steve Bruce. He talked about, the fans. He talks about, playing at the stadium. He loves playing for us. Why not say thank you?
But saying goodbye is hardly I'm coming back.
But it's a good buy for now, but it doesn't mean that that's it.
Interesting debate. Unfortunately, it's good. It's going to have to be goodbye from us. I've got to crack on. I've got other things to do. Get yourself onto Twitter and watch Alex Bruce and Craig Hope going at it. Alex Bruce is having a right pop with Craig Hope tonight. That should keep Newcastle fans entertained. Dom, give us a little bit of promo for where people can find you on your channel, please.
Yeah,
Dom?
it's hashtag or number 9 talk. So sorry, you've caught me with you've done Neil Mitchell on me and caught me with my pants down. But yeah, it's number 9 talk. Hopefully be on later.
Good stuff, mate. Great. Thanks for coming on. David, as always, it's 2 goodbyes tonight. Thank you to David and thank you to Dom. Take care, lads. Nice to have you on. Pete, Holly, as always, that hour always flies over. Great to have your company over the season. I know we're going to be doing little bits and bobs over the summer. I think we'll be doing a get-together at the weekend, I think, to look back on the season with everybody from the fans worldwide. So it'll be good to have you on that. But for now, good night and take care. See you later, guys.
Take care. Bye.
Take care.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna